I want to start here because I think this one has the most to chew on. Ramón Laureano to the Orioles, 1-year contract, $4 million guaranteed. The Orioles have had an interesting offseason. They are spending money. Their payroll is going to be significantly higher than it was last year. I think it's consensus that us three and many others have questioned the way they're spending it. We'll see how that plays out. Do they need to keep adding Orioles outfielders? AJ, I want to show you what we put together in terms of the depth chart, because actually a lot of it has to do with the Baseball America ranking side of things. And we're going to talk to JJ Cooper later, so maybe we can ask him about this, but they're starting outfield, and I'm going to list this out so that people listening later can feel included. Tyler O'Neill, who they signed for big bucks this offseason. Cedric Mullins, very solid player, still sub $10 million player. I think he's making close to $9 million. Colton Cowser, great player. Great season just now. He's going to play every day. Now Laureano's on their bench. Heston Kjerstad, who is still, I think, their third-ranked prospect because they think he still has prospect status. He's on their bench for now, and he can platoon. Jorge Mateo will be back at some point. I think he had elbow brace surgery. They signed Dylan Carlson for depth. Daz Cameron's there. Those guys have options. Technically, Kjerstad has options too. The reason I'm showing a little mix of versatility here on the right is because eventually it's not just the outfield, it's first and third base. Where's everyone playing if their highly ranked prospects are coming up this year? And many of these guys are going to be ready soon. Kobe Mayo, Sammy Basayo, Enrique Bradfield Jr., Vance Honeycutt, Judd Fabian, Dylan Beavers. They might not all be stars, but most of them should be big leaguers. So I'm just confused on the way that money is being spent. To me, it either means, AJ, that these minor leaguers are not ready and maybe not as good as they thought, or there's some type of trade conversation brewing. Otherwise, why spend your money this way?
That is a great question, Scott. I don't know the answer to it because when I saw this come across, I was like, am I missing something here? Because it doesn't make sense that Laureano with the outfield options. Listen, Kirsten Kjerstad has to play every day. O'Neill has to play every day. And Ced Mullins in center field is a great thing for the Orioles and what he does out there in center field, along with being a veteran leadership. Now, you got all these other guys that are supposed to be coming. Mike Elias won't trade anybody. We know that until they're absolutely blocked. So does that mean a trade's coming? I don't know. But is Kobe Mayo or one of those guys not better than Ramón Laureano for $750 versus $4 million? To me, it just doesn't make sense. They should be spending this money on bullpen help, finding another starter possibly. I don't know. It just seems like there was a better allocation of resources, but Mike Elias knows better than we do, so we're going to have to watch him.
Can we look ahead 2 weeks? Does this mean like Luis Castillo could be a guy that could be going for some of this like outfield depth? I mean, teams that maybe I'm being hopeful. I'm being hopeful that they go and get, because those are the starting pitchers' names, Dylan Cease, a Michael King, although he just signed that contract, so I doubt it. But you sit here and you go, how are they getting their team better? Everybody needs depth. Even the vaunted Dodgers need depth, and they have depth galore. They're adding depth, but they're adding it in places where I feel like they're still a little thin. So is this a precursor? Like, hey, we got to make sure we lock in Ramón before we trade this outfielder. I'm confused by it. And if the season starts and this is exactly what the roster looks like, you're not only hurting some of these prospects, but you're hurting your big league team by not adding big chunks of help on this team.
Bingo. Yeah, if there's a siege trade and involves some of these guys, awesome. That is exactly what they should be doing. Castillo is exactly what they should be doing. I heard about Kyle Stowers and Connor Norby for a while. Not that they were going to be stars, but solid big leaguers. They end up trading them in that what's turned out to be, at least so far, disastrous Trevor Rogers deal last year. Rogers might bounce back and be okay for them, but at the time it was the wrong move. They were like, oh, we want controllable guys. It's like, don't you want to win in the playoffs? So that's why we crushed it back then. We were right. So this time around in the offseason, I'm just like, we're all for spending money and investing in your team. I'm good with that. But I'm just curious about some of the decision-making here. And I wonder if there's something that we don't know. So from an outfield perspective, AJ, if you're one of the guys that we just listed and there is a significant logjam and you are a good prospect, are you not pissed to see this news? This guy's not like, oh, split contract, minor league deal, whatever. That's all cool. Competition, veterans, and spring training. This is 1 year, $4 million guaranteed for a guy who was terrible in the first half of the year, got much better again with the Braves, but just didn't seem like the guy that was necessary if you're going to spend an extra several $1,000,000 on a player for Baltimore.
Or let me ask you this. Is this Mike Elias saying we don't think Heston Kjerstad is going to be as good as we think he is? Is Dylan Carlson not going to be there? Is Kobe Mayo, I know he's a first and third baseman, but Daz Cameron has been around. Maybe he's not the guy. Dylan Beaver's outfield prospect, Enrique Bradfield Jr., Vance Honeycutt, Jed Fabian. These guys, maybe they don't think they're as good as other people do. I don't know, because if I'm Mike Elias, and again, I'm not, but Heston Kjerstad has to play every day. Why am I calling him up if he's been a top prospect for how many years now? How long have we been hearing about Heston Kjerstad, Jackson Holliday, Gunnar Henderson, Kobe Mayo, Stowers, this whole crew of Orioles prospects? Heston Kjerstad has to be given an opportunity to come up and play every day. And with Tyler O'Neill, Sed Mullins, and Colton Cowser, he's already the fourth option, if not the DH. Then you go out and sign another guy? Like, to me, this just doesn't make sense unless a trade comes through or they don't think that these prospects are as good as everyone else does, because otherwise it doesn't make sense to me.
Thank you. I'm glad we're on the same page, because we do promote doing things and activity, but we're not just saying, oh, I want every team to just sign every player. I want them to do it smartly, and I don't want them to block talent if that talent looks fire. And I don't think they're the kind of team that's just going to cut him in spring training if they feel like they've got other players ready to roll. Like, you look at their top 10 prospects, Kratz, there's a ton of outfield talent, and most of that outfield talent is in the upper levels of the minors. They drafted college talent that doesn't need a ton of seasoning.
And right. So it's less and less at bats for all these guys, which actually pushes some of the other guys down to the lower level, double A, high A, that type of thing. But we kind of saw this last year, not a direct correlation, but it kind of correlated the fact that Noelvi Marte got a 50-game suspension. But you sit there and you go, well, why would the Reds have signed Gmar Candelario? And you're like, it didn't really totally work out. They could have maybe allocated those funds other places. Doesn't mean he's not a good player. It just means when you have a team that has a you have a ton of people in one spot, in one like middle infield or outfield for the Orioles, and you keep adding to it with not a like elite level outfield prospect or outfield free agent, you're wondering like what is actually going on. Are there other things that could be happening and somebody from this list isn't going to be able to make the team to start the year?
Okay, good. We're on the same page. I just don't want to piss off prospects if they feel like they're close to ready, right? You want to give them a lane and say, this could be you. You sign a big bat or someone that.
But how long have they been saying these prospects are close? How long can you say these prospects are close? They're close. At some point, you got to let them go. You either got to trade them or you got to let them play. You can't just keep saying, oh, well, they're not quite ready yet. We've been hearing about Kjerstad for how many years now? When's he going to get 450 at-bats to have a chance to prove himself at the major league level? Jackson Holliday came up, struggled, went back down. You know what? It happens. He came back up, did better, right? But they at least gave him a shot. Gunnar Henderson, they just threw out there. Why don't they just do this? If Kjerstad, again, is the guy who they say he's supposed to be, or Enrique Bradfield, trade Cedric Mullins maybe, let Enrique Bradfield Jr. play center field. I don't know. It's like, why are we just – it's the thing we always talk about with the Orioles. They hoard prospects until they trade him to the Marlins for a guy that had to be sent to AAA last year. Nothing against Rogers, but it didn't work out last year. Might work out this year. But they hoarded prospects until they're like, well, we can get something for him, so let's just throw him away.
Hey, the Orioles think they are a World Series team. Any team that you have been a part of, have you ever gone to spring training going, you know what? We probably got 2 spots in our lineup for guys that are prospects, and we're gonna let them figure it out in the big leagues while we're trying to win the World Series?
No, but you know what you do with those prospects? You normally have a spot. If you're a World Series winning team or a contending team, you usually have 9 guys that you're pretty locked in on. Now, you can have 1 or 2 guys that are younger that can play or do whatever, because I remember when I was the Twins, we had Michael Kadire come up and some other guys come up, And you know what they did? They helped us, right? But we were also had older guys, not that old, but like Torrey Hunter, Corey Koski, Minkiewicz, like that had been through a couple years, right? Until we were like, all right, we're here. But you can sprinkle them in. But if you're the Orioles, okay, Tyler O'Neill, nice addition, right? Sed Mullen's been a good player for him. The infield's pretty much set. Catcher's set with Adley, Gary Sanchez as his backup, right? Second base, Jackson Holiday or someone else possibly, right? But then you go to right field and you have Colton Cowser, who people said could have won the Rookie of the Year last year. Okay, so then why do you hoard all these other outfield guys and then go sign outfield guys? Your 9 are pretty much set for the Orioles. Depth piece, nice. So you're going to tell Heston Kjerstad, who's been in AAA and he's raked the last couple of years, you know what? You're not ready. Go back to Norfolk, enjoy it, hit 30 again. Maybe next year you'll be ready. What else can he do? Give the guy a shot.
Yep. First base, Mountcastle. Westberg's a stud at third. Kobe Mayo might be good enough to break camp with the team, but he's not going to have a spot unless somebody's hurt. So it's just logjam city, and I believe in the prospects, but I want to see him. So it was worth the combo.
Use them to go get a Dylan Cease like they did last year with Corbin Burns. Oh, correct. Look at that. I mean, Corbin Burns had a great year for him. Wasn't Corbin Burns' fault they got swept in the first round. They didn't hit and they didn't score runs at the end in that playoff, last 2 playoff series, really. But what did they – I mean, yeah, they gave up some nice players. Joey Ortiz, they have a shortstop and a third baseman. Didn't need him. D.L. Hall didn't throw strikes for him. Didn't really need him, right? It was a great trade. You got Corbin Burns for a year. Go get Dylan Cease. Go get somebody. Use some of these guys because guess what? We just showed their list of prospects. They got like 10 outfielders. You only have 3 at a time.
Thank you.